Hello, everyone. This is Eric Diaz, Marketing 110. Thank you for joining this week. Very happy to have a good friend of mine, Lauren Potter, on today. And I would like to share with you a bit about Lauren, and then I'll start asking questions like I do every week. All right, so guys, Lauren, she is a social media specialist at Onsen. Lauren is a classically trained journalist turned marketer. She has a passion for storytelling, a penchant for strategy, and social media management. With more than 8 years experience developing and implementing integrated marketing strategies, Lauren is adept at creating industry-leading content that successfully builds online communities, increases brand awareness, and strengthens customer engagement. Her experience spans both the public and private sectors, from a digital self-care startup to a downtown district promoting urban development. As a social media specialist for the Onsen Global Marketing Department, Lauren supports our organization's vision by creating impactful social media campaigns about how Onsen drives technology breakthroughs that deliver on the promise of a sustainable future. Join Lauren as we discuss her career in social media. So Lauren, thanks very much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Eric. I really appreciate it.
So you actually went to Phoenix College, is that correct?
I did. I went to Phoenix College, I think starting in 2010. I was working full time in a different career at that time. And I started doing a ceramics class because I wanted to be creative and let my inner artist out. But then I ended up getting my associate in arts degree and was a music major actually in vocal performance.
Wow.
So I've had a few transitions. I think I do like to tell my life story when it comes to like my education because it's
Yeah.
definitely not linear, which I was always really insecure about, but it's all worked out.
Yeah, someone shared a analogy recently with me is like he said he compared his life to like a Jenga board, and he was like, well, he's like, I might have taken a different path, but I feel like if I would take a Jenga piece out now, it might have all fallen down before. So like
Well,
it had to be the way it was or whatever. So I was like, that's a great
that's a
analogy.
good analogy. Yeah, I feel like I'm like a poster child for like it's okay to not follow a straight path. Like it's okay to not know when I grow up, I want to be a blah. Because I've always just followed my intuition. Like I just followed my passions and let them guide me.
That's great. So, I had a couple questions from the students about your background, about your degree in journalism, and let me kick off with a few of those actually. So, because I want to get to your background with downtown Phoenix and on Semi as well. But first question is from Valeria. She says, "How has your journalism knowledge prepared you for your marketing career?" She also has a BA in journalism, and she's working on getting more experience in social media.
Mm. Um, my journalism degree was great preparation for a career in social media, in my opinion, in my experience. What I loved about the journalism degree and how it relates to social media is you learn how to communicate to a particular audience. Journalism is really about, communicating to not like the super high level people. It depends on what publication you're writing for, but essentially they kind of teach you're speaking to an eighth grader. Like your words need to be accessible to everyone. You don't need to be overly verbose and use super technical language. It needs to be digestible and easily readable. So that is one thing that has helped me in marketing is um, just trying to communicate in a kind of straightforward way, like not trying to make anything sound fancy. But also the journalism degree, the program at Cronkite at ASU, it's a very skills based degree, which is what I loved about it. I didn't want to do a degree where I'm just like learning theories and philosophies on things. I wanted tactical, tangible skills that I could take. So, I learned videography, which is super helpful for social media. I mean, we see TikTok videos all the time. Like, while you don't need a degree in video to produce TikTok videos, it really helps you to understand the theories behind good video content and editing. So videography, editing, photography, web design, even like some graphic design, and just knowing how to spot a story and pay attention to what resonates with an audience. Um, So it's really helped me in my marketing career. And while I don't want to tell everyone go do a journalism degree just to get into marketing, because it does have some pros and cons, but it worked really well for me.
That's great. Very good. Valeria also asked another question about freelance and kind of getting into social media. So her question was, I also noticed on your LinkedIn profile that you freelance for a bit. What do you recommend when landing a job when you're new to social media? Would you recommend to freelance for a bit before you try to work with a 9 to 5 company?
Mm. So if you don't have any official social media experience, I mean, I would do some freelance for free, for example. Like, no, I don't like doing stuff for free. Maybe for a low cost, like, help out a friend. Like I've helped friends create Instagram pages. I'll set up your Facebook page for you. I've helped friends. So maybe you have a friend that you're willing to help to get a bit of a portfolio together. However, I I wouldn't recommend just like launching into freelance personally. My freelance work, if you're going to make a living off of that, you have to be really organized. You have to, you have to charge, a lot more than you expect in order to get the same amount of money per hour that you would get working for an employer. Because when you're a freelancer, you are self-employed. So you are not only paying the employer taxes, you're paying like the employee taxes, and there's just more taxes. So,
Mhm.
um, and there's the paperwork. So I'd say for me it was challenging, like to make a living off of that. And I do personally love the freedom of that, but I have learned that more so I love the kind of structure and not safety, but perceived safety of working for an organization. Um, um, yeah, I think that's just good for me. I like having that structure. I like having a team. I like feeling part of a bigger mission. So I still love freelance. I still help out people, but I'd say it's kind of hard to like launch straight into that if you're trying
Mm,
to make a career out of it without experience.
perfect. I had I guess a little bit more background from you, if you would. So, went to Phoenix College, Cronkite, and tell us more about your career after that. What's led you to where you're at today?
Yeah, I'll go back to Phoenix College a little bit and just kind of explain that, I studied at Phoenix College and was studying music, because I just had to get that out of my system. Like I was a
Mhm.
closet singer songwriter, I used to say, and I ended up studying music there just to put myself out of my comfort zone and to kind of check that off my bucket list. And once I studied music, I was like, I do not want to do this at a bachelor's degree level. That I know. So I like eliminated one interest from my list. Um, and at the time, I had been working at the Musical Instrument Museum in the cafe. So I was working at MIM, but I was studying music. And then at the cafe, I developed this interest and passion for locally sourced food because I met all these local farmers who would come in and deliver the produce each week. On Farm to Fork Fridays, all the farmers would come in and deliver the produce. And for whatever reason, I was just so amazed by these farmers, like, oh my gosh, these are the guys growing our food. Like, they're amazing. Like, they work so hard and they're keeping us alive. Like, I just wanted to share their stories. And I felt like I wanted to visit their farms and write about them for my restaurants newsletter. They have a company newsletter. It's a large national company that has cafes in different museums around the country. So anyway, my interest in food is actually what got me into this like journalism idea. Like I want to share their stories. I want to tell their story, and document them. So I got a little bit of a litmus test in the journalism world by doing a class at Paradise Valley Community College. And I was like, okay, if I like this journalism class, I'll study journalism. If I don't like it, I have no idea what I'm going to do. It was like my last effort.
Right.
So I did the intro class at PVCC, had a great teacher there who let me, encouraged me to be the foods editor for their newspaper. So she let me write about farmers and food all the time, which was great. So I ultimately went to Cronkite, and did study a journalism degree. And I did think at some point I definitely was like, I'm going to be a food journalist. I wanted to write about food, farmers, sustainability. So I didn't necessarily want to be like a hardcore news reporter, but I wanted to like share stories. But deep down, I still always had the heart of a marketer, because I want to celebrate the things I love and that I believe in. And as a journalist, as a true, like if you're reporting the news, you've got to be unbiased. Like you're not there to be like, this political person's winning, yay. Like, like, but and there's like an in-between space where, yeah, you might be like a foods editor and you can write opinion pieces. But ultimately, like my marketer heart was shining through. So once I was at Cronkite for a couple of years. I was living downtown at the time, and I naturally, just who I am, I'm obsessively taking photos with my phone. That's just how I am. In elementary school and throughout high school, art, photography, art, graphic design. I'm an artist at heart. So I was taking photos and just documenting downtown Phoenix on my own, and like doing tweets about downtown. And I took an internship with an online publication that writes about downtown Phoenix. Mm-hmm. So I was writing about new restaurants and such. So that's what got me into the downtown scene. And then the organization, Downtown Phoenix Inc., they had seen my work because this other publication was sharing it on their website. Downtown Phoenix, whoever was doing their social media at the time, she would see me tag them on Instagram and she would regram me. And I thought I was like, oh my gosh, Downtown Phoenix regrammed me. It was such a big deal. So ultimately I ended up meeting the person who did their social media. And I was like, oh my gosh, how did she get that job? I want that job. And a year later, out of the blue, she reached out to me. I was like, hey, Lauren, would you be interested in writing for a really cool downtown organization? And I was like, hell yeah. And it turns out she was moving into a different role and they wanted someone to fill the social media position. So they hired me to do that. So that's kind of a roundabout lead up to the downtown.
But it's interesting. A lot of that, it seems like it came from like at mentioning the right company.
Exactly. And that's what I love about social media. That's one of the things I love about it is it's no longer 6 degrees of separation. You can at Zuckerberg if you want to, and if you just be part of the conversation and don't, I will say one thing my dad taught me that I've always kind of taken from him is the idea of put yourself out there, like networking, get to know people. Like you never know where a connection might lead or how someone can help you or how you can help someone in the future. And, I think I have that sense of possibility, like with social media, tagging them and tagging people just to be like, hey, look at this is cool. And maybe they'll retag me. And they did, it's just being part of that conversation. Is important.
Oh, that's cool. All right. And then from your time at Downtown Phoenix, how did that lead to Onsen, where you're currently at?
Yeah, so I was with Downtown Phoenix for 4.5 years, and I loved that job. It was a dream job at the time, a lot of fun. It was, and what was unique about that type of social media position was it was essentially kind of like a journalist position, but as a marketer, because it was very day to day. We didn't plan stuff out very far in advance. I didn't do that on social media. It was very day to day, in the moment, what's happening today, right now. And I will say that's my natural mode of operation. Being a long-term planner and like scheduling content a month in advance is frankly not my natural mode of operation. It's a challenge for me. It's like something that I have to constantly work on, and it's a muscle I'm constantly building. But it worked really well for me at Downtown Phoenix. So it was very day-to-day events, like Instagram stories about businesses, stuff in the moment. And then during the recession, during COVID, during the pandemic. Ooh, there's some sirens. Welcome to urban life. During COVID, I just was like, I realized there was nowhere for me to grow in that organization. I had been pushing myself and was doing a lot outside of the scope of my job. This is just how I've always kind of been. I see lots of possibilities in lots of different areas. And I was like, oh, like, can we do an event? And so my boss was like, sure, if you want to produce a yoga event on the lawn at Civic Space Park, yeah, go ahead, like just make it happen. And I had a lot of freedom, but I wasn't really being recognized for all this extra stuff I was doing. And I was hoping I would grow within the organization and have a team eventually, but it just wasn't possible. And I realized that eventually. So during the pandemic, that's just kind of when I had like, reassessed things. I had started doing some online self-care classes with a company that was brand new. And long story short, they ended up hiring me to be their social media person. So I did 10 months with a startup, working directly with the co-founders, working 14-hour days, 7 days a week for a long time. It was really, really hard, but I'm really proud of what I built there. Ultimately, they just weren't growing enough to sustain all the employees full time. So I was shut down to part time, and then I just ultimately started freelancing to
Yeah.
make up for that. But I found the Onsen position because I was like, I wanted to do something different. I want to get out of like this, all the things I'm passionate about. Now, it might sound terrible, but I was like, my job at downtown Phoenix, I put my heart and soul, my blood and my tears, like every ounce of my being went into that role, which is not healthy. Same thing happened with Self Care Society, the
Mm.
startup. Those jobs were my identity. It was who
Uh-huh.
I am. Like every part of me was like that role. And I realized that burns you out. It really burns you out because you can't disconnect. You're on your phone all the time. You're like messaging, responding to comments at 10 p.m. Social media boundaries. If you're going to get into social media, like you have to have boundaries. And I thought, in my ideas of where to work next, I wanted to work for a large company. I was thinking global. Okay, like I wanted to get back into the corporate world just to again have that structure, have budget to work with, have resources. With a startup, you don't have resources, so you're wearing a million different hats, which I also love. At Downtown Phoenix and Self Care Society, I was a one woman show, writing, editing, photographing, all the things. So anyway, I found Onsemi and thought working in the tech world would be awesome to stay relevant, to stay part of the future, to be part of, um, a sustainable future. Like I do believe in sustainability. I'm really passionate about sustainability, and I do love technology. I didn't even know what a semiconductor was before I applied there, but I just knew that like I wanted to do something that was not like my heart and soul, like, that I cared about.
Right.
Like, I don't think I could do social media for like a car company, but like specifically, but with a semiconductor, I just was like, they have so many cool sustainability initiatives and just learning about um, their whole like ecosystem of how they are trying to make things more efficient and sustainable, not just as a company, but for their customers. So it ultimately is like this full life cycle of sustainability. I just really believed in that. Um, so yeah, I ended up getting a position with them, and it has been amazing. I've only been there 4 weeks. Actually, this
Ah,
is the start of my fifth week. Um,
okay.
but I will say it's been very different working for a global company, like being on phone calls with people in Germany and China and London, and trying to piece together all the information of, okay, rather than being the one woman show, instead of creating everything in this role, I'm curating mostly. So I'm curating content from the different regions. Like in Asia, they're producing things, and I have to contact the team there and get to the content, and kind of mine for the content in different places. So
What different countries did you mention that you guys operate in,
we
or
have
or regions maybe?
basically everywhere. Yeah. So the Asia Pacific area, like China, Japan, Korea, we're in Germany, we're pretty much everywhere. We're not in, I don't know if we're in Australia, but we have a team in Italy, we've got people in Germany, and like Slovakia, like all over the world, like almost
Oh.
everywhere. And then in Canada.
So what's your day-to-day like for Onsemi these days? I know it's early, or what do you maybe
Yeah.
project your day-to-day to be like?
Well, okay, when I project my day to day to be, I will just say like right now, I'll talk about like my day to day right now, even though it's not
Mhm.
going to always be this way, just because I do think it's important um, to address like the business to business stuff and metrics and how we gauge success. But right now, one of the things I'm really focusing on is developing a social media strategy. So in the
Mm.
past, they've done things, they've posted stuff that, yeah, it relates to the business. And yeah, we have a blog and we post things, but there hasn't been a very clearly defined strategy for why they're doing what they're doing, how they're going to measure the success of that. Is it really having an impact? Are we wasting time writing these blogs when no one's looking at them? Or how can we improve the blogs so that when we promote it on social media, people want to click and take them to the website? So right now, I'm just assessing everything that already exists. I'm like assessing, analyzing, I'm pulling all the data on like Google Analytics to see how blogs are performing. Even though blogs are not social media, they're very important because they are a piece
Mm.
of content you share on social media. And yeah, just analyzing all of our past posts to see trends, to see what types of content what types of content people most engage with. And also, I've been defining our audience. Who is our target audience? Who are we speaking to right now? Who follows us? Who are they? Where are they? And then trying to deduce what kind of content they want to see. So a strategy, content and social media strategy, is really important for me. Like I want to be very strategic um, in this role. So my day to day right now is pretty much that. A lot of like digging and research. But moving forward, and I have been scheduling content on social media. So that aspect of my role is in the curation role. Um, I have a set of Google alerts that I follow. So Google alerts that relate to our industry, because
Mm.
part of our social media strategy is to share relevant, interesting content, not necessarily from competitors, but from companies in the industry who are using our parts. So you don't just go to Target and buy an semiconductor off the shelf. What's one of the hard things about marketing our product and getting that like sale, like how do you create like a direct correlation between your social media and your sales? It's not that easy with this kind of business because our product is embedded. It's embedded in something else. And a lot of the times you don't know that. Like Intel did a really good job because they put their sticker on everything. Like they are a semiconductor company and they make other things, but they are known. Onsemi is not known. So I got on a little bit of a tangent right then.
No,
And
this is great.
I can't remember.
Well, like, I could think one thing would be super helpful, like, because
Yeah.
we often talk, and a lot of the examples in the book are a lot of B2C companies. So, like, if you could just like maybe like tell a little bit about the difference about like what is it like to be a social media marketing specialist for a B2B versus a B2C, um, and I guess like how does it differ like the stakeholders that you're supporting?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's something I'm also learning right now because my experience has predominantly been in B2C, so business to consumer, very like we all know that like, hey, this fun event is happening, come down, or but with business to business, there's lots of what I'm learning is that with a business, there are many people that are involved in the sales funnel. Like the sales, I should say in a sale, there are it's not just an engineer who says, yeah, I want that semiconductor for my product. Like the engineer might be intrigued with it, reading about this report that Onsen has released about their new product and how cool it is. But ultimately, you've got to appeal or reach out to speak to the engineer who's ultimately using the product in their design. You have to speak to the procurement person. So there's someone on the engineers team in their company who is responsible for putting contracts together. So it's like there's all these different facets within a single sale, and your content kind of has to be targeted at different people in that what's the word, life cycle or something of the sale. The other big thing is that I'm just thinking with our company, there's a really big lead time. I don't think that's relevant. Never mind. But yeah, like it's not just like it's on sale right now, so you don't have any of that verbiage,
right?
Because all of our products are very customized. Again, you don't just pick one off a shelf. It could take 3 years. Once a company decides they want to use our products, they work directly with our team, our engineering team, to customize it for their specific use case. So inside their electric vehicle. And that
can take like 3 years to kind of develop the product for their use. Okay.
Exactly. So so what you're seeing on the road, like this electric vehicle, like the semiconductors that went into that, like it was probably a 3-year process from the moment they decided they wanted to use us. Other differences with business to business. Yes, not that hard. Like I will say it's a relief for me not to have to feel like I'm selling. The strategy is more like informational and engaging, just to create brand awareness, at least for my role. So with social media, if you think of the sales funnel, so you've got like brand awareness. I feel like I have a diagram. Let me just pull it up. With the sales funnel, I'm responsible for getting people into the sales funnel. And I need to specify actually that I do organic content. So we have a whole other team who focuses solely on paid content.
Okay.
So yeah, and actually me as Lauren Potter on my personal Facebook page, I've started getting Onsen ads. Paid ads are targeting me now, and they're like, want to learn how to build so-and-so for your so-and-so, like click here to download our free guide. Okay, so that's a lead generation tool. So there's a team that does nothing but lead generation, and even though what I do could potentially put people into that sales funnel,
right?
Like, so, like we've got LinkedIn, we've got blog posts, just things that are shared on social media, which is like the discovery phase, like discovery. I don't know if I'm allowed to be showing this.
No, you're fine. It's fine. Yeah,
it's not nothing like trademark or confidential, but yeah. So you've got like discovery phase. That's really where I kind of fit in, and the learn. So there's discover, learn, evaluate, and buy. It's a long process. Okay, that's a huge difference. Business to consumer, how many times have you pulled up Instagram and you see a cute alarm clock that you literally click and buy right then? They got me. Lofty got me. With business to business, there's just so many more steps in the sales process. So social media, organic social media, is primarily an awareness, a discovery, and a little bit of learning, because I share blogs that our engineers have written about our products. They are free. They are not like a specific lead generation tool. Like they're not a downloadable PDF that like is really beautifully formatted, and they're less valuable. You don't need to give you your email address to get them. So does that make sense? I'm just kind of
Yeah.
learning this as I'm talking as well. Like, oh yeah, like
No, that's great. You know, another question I have for you, just so I think would maybe give a little bit more insights on this too, is what would you say is your most effective channel, whether it's social media platform, for organic
mm,
content? Both, if you could just give me what, in your opinion, both for Onsemi and for downtown Phoenix.
ooh, oh, that's a great question. With Onsemi, I mean, it's like it sounds it's as expected. LinkedIn is by far our most successful platform.
Okay.
Granted, the company has never really been strategic about YouTube, and I feel like that is an untapped audience for us because YouTube is like the number 2 search engine in the world, like next to Google. And there's a lot of amazing videos and interesting things on YouTube. But LinkedIn, it's for, it's business community. It's very business to business, So we have a huge following there. We have really great engagement. And we know who we're speaking to there. Like when you look into the analytics of our page, it is like predominantly like engineers.
Right.
So we're speaking to that person who's going to be putting that product in their design. But then once that person becomes interested in us, they have to like put it up to their manager and the procurement team and whoever, whatever. So LinkedIn has been super successful for us, and I can't wait to like dig in and be more strategic on there. But for downtown Phoenix, Instagram. I miss Instagram. I love Instagram. That's like my favorite. And with downtown, I left. I mean, TikTok was a thing before I left, but we did not start a TikTok. If we were strategic and if I had the bandwidth, like a TikTok would have been like super successful for downtown, I'm sure. But when I started, like Instagram was the thing, and that was, I would say, Instagram was in downtown Phoenix, that kind of business to consumer thing. That's kind of like tourism as well. It's super visual. Like Instagram is a video visual platform. So that was so successful for us just because it's, I don't know, just people like sharing their lives and like seeing the visual things of downtown. Like they're not going to be on LinkedIn. Like they're not looking for business on LinkedIn. So and Facebook was somewhat helpful for us as downtown, but when it came to like promoting events, but Instagram is really where our audience was. And you could just be super creative on there and just be super conversational with people. I used to get messages all the time from people asking for restaurant recommendations. Hey, like my sister's having her 21st next week. Like, where could we go for dinner? What do you recommend? Or I'm graduating. Like, where do you think I could go take photos? Like, are there any cool places downtown? So, it's like very personal on Instagram. And I mean, not to say LinkedIn couldn't be like that, but it's just different. LinkedIn's definitely the business crowd.
Excellent.
And the big decision makers are on LinkedIn. So
makes sense.
the VPs of the company.
Question for you from Kevin, and this is just general social media. But his question, I think it was good, it was relevant, especially like once you're graduated, now you're in field. His question is, how do you stay sharp and improve your skills as a social media specialist?
That's a great question. Thanks, Kevin. Personally, I'm on social media all the time. And I try to just follow, the latest trends, like stay up to date on the trends, but just through consuming content. But there are like lots of, maybe not lots of, I know there's lots of kind of like, not support groups, but kind of mastermind groups you can join. Like I'm part of a social media managers group. She used to be on Facebook, but now she's like you literally pay a membership, $50 a month. And you get access to all of her courses and her classes. And there's like a free group on Facebook where you can ask each other questions. And that's been really helpful for me because she stays on top of the trends, and predominantly she's Instagram. That's really her focus. But she does classes each month, like on the latest trends, like how to, when Reels came out, when Instagram Reels were a thing, like everyone's like, oh my gosh, another feature. How can I do this? But
Right.
she put together a workshop like on how to do an Instagram Reels strategy, and she also sells templates for social media, graphics. So that's been a good resource for me. Also, just like I love following the blogs by companies that are like social media tools, like social media scheduling tools, like Later. That's a scheduling tool. They have an awesome blog. I love their blog. Um, Sprout Social is a scheduling, social media management, scheduling engagement tool that I use right now. They also have a great blog, like, and Hootsuite, even Sprout Social, Hootsuite, Later, great blogs, like all the latest trends. Um, and just, yeah, but as for skills, I mean, essentially, like, I think that does answer the question, because skills is really like, can you use a computer and a phone? Like the
Yeah.
technical skills.
But no, that's a good point. Like, I mean, you're reading.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, you
mostly just
read
like
master
being in
classes.
the channels, being in social media, consuming it yourself, and like paying attention to like what's changing, and oh, okay. And then following, I like to follow the blogs. Like, there's probably other things, but those are some of the
Yeah,
ones that work for me.
perfect. Um, I think I just have one more question about like social media, and then the last few questions will be more about like advice, getting helping them get their first jobs, things like that. So last question. This one's also from Kevin, and it talks about challenges. So his question is, what is a constant problem while working in the marketing industry?
Oh, yeah. I can say, um, for me, so as the downtown Phoenix social media person in that marketing world, actually no, even in, okay, business to business on Semi and downtown Phoenix business, I will say one of my biggest challenges, a constant problem, is compelling visuals. Like, okay, you want me to promote your event for downtown Phoenix, but your graphic looks like it was made with Microsoft Paint. Like, I can't share this. It looks horrible. Sorry, but like that is real. Or the photos, like you just like photos are not good. Like, and I would say I'm probably too much of a perfectionist there, like a little high standard that might be unreasonable. But I'm not the only one that feels that way about it. Is just so hard to get the right photos. Like right now with Onsemi, like I need better visuals for social media. That's actually like such a thing. And then so having good visuals, like compelling imagery, to share with a blog or about, on social media. And I would just say, I feel like I'm learning it everywhere I've been. There's it's everything always seems like it's last minute, like tight deadlines, and like things come up at the last minute, and everything always feels like it's rushed. And it's like, why we've had, like just deadlines is a constant. I don't know if it's a problem, but it's just always a hurdle. Like, okay, we've had so long, but how's this all of a sudden a last minute project we're working on? And I would say budget and resources, like everywhere you go, not just nonprofits that have budgetary issues, or low budgets. Even large companies like Onsemi, I don't know what their budget is, but, and I haven't had to broach that subject yet, but money, everyone wants to save their money. So no matter what company you are, so budget is always going to be a thing. Like, outsourcing, hiring someone to create like a video or produce a video, like it costs money. Or yeah, or just paying to, I don't know, boost a not organic Facebook post, like
Right.
budget photos and deadlines, like just tight turnarounds is a battle.
Yeah. Well, I think your story is really great as far as like telling how you got to where you are and like kind of your path, and maybe a non-linear path to that, which I think is great for the students to hear. one thing, I think it's always important, yeah, for the students to think about is like, this is where you're at now, this is where you're looking for, but like, I guess where are you going next? So, I'll ask you, Lauren, what do you think's next for you in your marketing communications career?
Well, I will say that with my current role, I've only been there going on 5 weeks, but I see a lot of room for growth there with a bigger company, which I never thought I'd work for a huge corporation that has 33,000 employees around the world. Um, I just didn't think I would do that. But now that I'm in it, I just see so much possibility, especially because of the company getting a new CEO about a year and a half ago, and there's been a lot of change. And there are some pieces that are kind of missing, in my opinion. So my vision is to grow within Onsemi, and to hopefully have a team. So I want to grow the social media, grow our followers and our following, and prove the value, show the value of social media, like, and somehow directly like see like, hey, our sales increased, and this is partly because of social media. I want to show the value of our social channels, and grow a team, and be a social media director, and hopefully my vision is to like have people all around the world in all the different countries, and like have a format, a template that they follow. Like, hey, when we have a trade show in Romania or whatever, these are the steps, these are what we need you to do. Take this photo, do this thing, like capture this content, and then we'll piece it together and share that. So like having a team, like a social media person in each of the regions, like someone in Europe, someone in Asia, where they can do that would be really cool. And yeah, I don't know. That's kind of, it's still fresh for me, but also here we are, you're leading a class, and I also have a love for and a passion for mentoring and teaching. And I did teach a class, a social media class for small business at Changing Hands Bookstore several years ago. But if I could do that like on the side and like somehow teach and share my knowledge, like I would love to do that as well. And maybe that would become more of a full-time thing. But yeah, right now I just want to grow within Onsemi, and get a team together, and be able to like really just define the strategy, and have a team that can help build that. Like right now it's just me, and I have a graphic designer I can work with for certain things, but
Yeah, and I
there's
think
a lot of opportunity.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know. It's just saying that the opportunity, I feel like there's a lot of opportunity. Anything that lacks, like, is a room for opportunity. Like, oh gosh, we don't have someone doing X. It's like, well,
Right.
that could be me. Like if I
Well, I think one of the things you touched on was, working with a larger company has allowed you this opportunity where you're like, hey, I could see how this could grow. Whereas working with
yes.
smaller companies, you may not, great mission, all that, but there may not be a place where you could advance to, just with realistically with budgets and all that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
That's one of the most like surprising kind of takeaways I've gotten just in my time with my new company, is that, again, back to that, like me talking about networking with people and this sense of possibility. I'm learning that really inspires me is to feel like anything's possible. Like you never know how I could end up as the director of marketing for Onsemi. Like feeling like that's possible because it is a company that wants you to grow. Like they don't want you to stay in your role forever. Like they want to encourage you to grow. And by doing that, like it just, I feel more inspired. Like I can grow within the company, and all the other smaller companies I've been with, I didn't have that energy. Like I didn't have that sense, I guess, that I had the sense when I first went in, like, oh, I can do all these different things and be a social media specialist and then like create my own position. But it's like, man, that's not how it works. Like there's nowhere for you to grow. People had been in those companies for a long time. And it was I was very thankful to get my foot in the door, because it can be hard to get your foot in the door. But I would say with smaller companies, yeah, due to budgets and just sometimes lack of willingness to like stretch themselves and think outside the box and like take on not challenges, but like to try something new.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes a smaller, I don't know, you'd think that a larger company would be less likely to try something new maybe, but I found that my company's very open to ideas, and the CEO is very progressive and wants change. He believes in change. So I think a big part of it is just finding leadership that has values that align with yours.
Yeah, perfect. And then, okay, so Lauren, I've got one last question for you. So as I mentioned, students generally are, some could be getting a social media certificate, some may be transferring to get a BA or a bachelor's. And some of them are going to be looking straight away for jobs coming in the near future, and some might be looking in social media. So I guess as someone looking for their first job in the marketing industry, any tips or any advice you would have for them as they finish up their college career?
Yes. One, update your LinkedIn profile. Like, just get all your stuff looking fresh, update your LinkedIn, network. Don't be afraid to network, reach out to people, reach out to hiring managers, reach out to people who are in the industry you want to be in, and network with them, get to know them. And if you don't, if you're interested in getting into kind of any kind of role, honestly, but social media, if you're like me, you're more of an artist. Marketing, like the umbrella of marketing, I say it's like part art, part science. I am an artist, and I like have to force myself to do the science. And that was the data, the analytics, that stuff, like Excel spreadsheets. I would encourage people to get good at that as well. Like that's something that I've had to work hard at because I didn't learn that early on. So bosses and the executives making decisions, they always want the numbers, and it's really important to have the data to back up your ideas. What else for starting out? Just put yourself out there. And yeah, that's what I got.
That's good. Yeah. Excellent, Lauren. This has been amazing. I really appreciate you sharing your insights and kind of how you're going through it. And obviously, early on with Onsen, but you're already kind of telling the differences between B2C, B2B, and like can really express those to students so when they're thinking about their jobs, they can really think about what's right for them. And and like you said, don't like your decision right out of college isn't necessarily what you're going to do the rest of your life. So
no, and that's honestly, that's really good advice too. Is I feel like there's this pressure that, at least there's this pressure. It took me 10 years. I'm 36. It took me 10 years or 10 years to like get my degree and like to decide what I wanted to study. For whatever reason, I put this pressure on myself that it had to be something meaningful, and that it, there's this idea that like the degree you get has to be your career, but it really doesn't. And okay, if you know what you want to do and you have the degree that takes you there, amazing, like do that. But if you're unsure, pick things that interest you. Like, no offense to marketing degrees and business classes, but I will say, I used to have people tell me all the time, oh, you should do marketing. You should do like a degree in marketing. And when I would read the classes, they sounded, I don't want to do this. It just sounded boring to me. Sorry, like, because I'm more of the artist, but the journalism degree, when I read the list of classes, I was like, there is not a class on this list that I don't want to do. I want to do everything. I would go back there and get that degree again and do all different classes if I could. So I just think it really is important to follow what interests you, play to your strengths. Like, what are you good at? What do you like? Like, play to that, focus on that. And yeah, you can learn other skills. It's important to be balanced and to get good at the data if you're an artist. But yeah, I just, your degree doesn't have to be your career either. And yeah.
Perfect. So guys, thank you everyone to being with us today. Lauren, thank you once again for being part of this.
Thank you so much for having me. And something else I wanted to add, if I may.
Sure. Yeah.
something I've really struggled with in my career is imposter syndrome. Like I think a lot of people see this on the internet these days, like on Instagram. It's been a real, true, like not good thing that I've dealt with. And I'm learning in my almost 10 years of doing marketing and social media, no one has everything figured out. They don't. And I've compared myself to people like, oh my gosh, they know everything and I don't, and they're thinking I'm not doing a good job. Like, but I just keep getting these amazing jobs and people look up to me and I have to accept like, Lauren, you're doing a good job. Like no one's perfect. No one has it all figured out. So just to, be easy on yourself and just trust that you're where you're meant to be. And, you deserve to be there. Like, if you're in a career where you start questioning yourself.
Definitely. Great final tips.
Sorry. Yes, that's my last piece of advice.
No, that's great. No, I think that is something that is, in reality, going through a lot of people's heads. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. So anyway, everyone, thank you so much for being part of this class, and we'll catch you next week. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.